Still on Stats SA, the statistical body has warned against the premature broadcasting of its data. This is in reaction to Newzroom Afrika's error in breaching a set embargo over the second quarter GDP figures. Stats SA Deputy Director General Joe de Beer speaks to us now about this. Thank you so much for your time and being so gracious. First of all, apologies once again, but let's highlight the importance of a breach of this nature, especially with information that is so sensitive and that could move markets in a shape and form that Stats SA would not have anticipated.
Yeah, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. It is not the best situation that we've had with the breach of the embargo, but I think it might be important just to clarify why there are embargo on all our statistics, so that everybody understands why it is such a serious situation. But let's take one step back. Stats SA values its independence, and although we exist because of an act of parliament and we report through to a minister in the presidency, we are still independent and not influenced by any other entities in the statistics that we develop and that we publish. And a statistical office will ask itself, how are we supposed to behave? And through the United Nations, all the statistical offices in the world develop what we call 10 fundamental principles that will guide our behaviors in different situations. And one of these principles, in fact, the very first one, speaks to our relevance, impartiality, and equal access. And the equal access one is what is of importance for us today. In short, it says that whenever we develop statistics, we must make sure that everybody that uses them, whether it is from government, academia, private sector, or the media, must have access to the data at exactly the same time. And that is primarily to make sure that nobody has an unfair advantage in the markets. If we take today's GDP, it came in, as Dr. Moelman just said, fairly much in line with market expectations, the 0.4. But let us just imagine that the growth number came in at double that, 0.8 or 1%. That would have caught the markets maybe by surprise, saying the economy is much more resilient than what they thought. And that would have implications for share prices, for the currency movements. And if somebody has pre-sight to that, it gives them an unfair advantage to try to monetize the information that they have access to. So it's important for us to give everybody the same data at the same time for equal opportunities.
Well understood and appreciated. As we wrap up this particular segment of reaction to the GDP numbers, DG, I think we must also then ask about the revision to the first quarter gross domestic product numbers. Talk us through how that technicality unfolded.
Now, the previous quarter's number was negative 0.1, and that was revised to 0.0. But that is primarily because some of the source data that we use have changed. Whenever we calculate GDP, you do not do it with a complete data set. In many cases, some of your source data sets are still work in progress or have not yet been published at all. So as time passes and we get more complete or more accurate data, then we always feed that into our estimates. And in some cases like here, we had to make a small change to the growth we expected for the previous quarter.
Thank you very much for your time. That is Joe de Beer from Stats SA giving us some more in terms of what came out of Stats SA with regards to the second quarter GDP numbers and clarifying their rules and set standards.